All right, I started recording, so I think we should be good to go.
That being the case, then I will call the January 12th meeting of the Traffic and Parking Advisory Board meeting to order. Good afternoon and welcome. The Traffic and Parking Advisory Board reviews items of interest regarding parking and traffic items. We are an advisory board, and our favorable recommendation today will go before the Oshkosh Common Council. The council can accept or reject any recommendation from this board. If you don't agree with our decision, you can with any council member. If the board does not recommend an item, a common council in fact sponsor a new ordinance regarding that same item. All items today will require 2 readings before the Common Council. The first reading will take place on Tuesday, January 26th at 6 p.m., and you will be allowed to comment on that item at that particular time, although the council will take no action. On Tuesday, February 9th at 6 p.m., the item will again be on a second reading, at which time the council will in fact take action. You will again be allowed to speak to the item at that time. For this afternoon's meeting, I will read each agenda item, at which time, if you'd like to speak, in your case, Mr. Greason, I'll go over how that's going to be handled for you in a second. Please make sure you give both your name and your address for the record. I do ask that you keep your comments pertinent to that agenda item, and the item will then come back to the board for discussion and action. I am going to ask that roll be called for quorum purposes.
Christensen,
Here.
Wanschneider,
Here.
Staple,
Here.
Chizinski, Chizinski, Krause,
Here.
Becker.
Here. Did you get that, Jane, from me?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what?
Apparently, we're having some technical difficulties today. I did, in fact, indicate I was here.
No, I heard you. I just didn't hear Chizinski.
Just looking for some feedback from you to call a quorum, but all right. Our first item on the agenda then today will be public comment. Now, Mr. Greason, that's not going to be you at this point. You will be asked to speak when your agenda item comes up under new business. So this comment period is specifically for citizens that want to speak on a non-agenda related item. And I don't think we have any. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Collins.
Nope, I don't see anybody else.
Did we get any email input from any citizen?
No, we did not.
Which then brings us to approval of prior minutes. I'm looking for a second.
Second. Staple.
Any discussion, additions, or deletions to prior minutes? Seeing or hearing none, we'll ask for roll call on approval of minutes.
Christensen,
Aye.
Wanschneider,
Aye.
Staple,
Aye.
Chizinski, Krause,
Aye.
and Becker.
Aye. Which then brings us to old business. And again, I believe, Mr. Collins, there is none at this point.
Correct.
Which then brings us to new business. First item actually on that agenda is the no parking request on Grand Street.
So Mr. Dreesen, we had a typo there. I think it starts with a D. But he had a request for no parking on Grand Street, the east side from Merrill, 60 feet to 156 feet north. And the current condition is no parking from Merritt to 20 feet north. he's on to explain it a little bit to you, but he is the landlord for it's 510 Pleasant Street, but the driveway access for that parcel is actually on Grand Street. So he's the owner of that property. And I'll try to pull up. You can kind of see part of it on Google Maps. But the issue is there's his tenant's driveway behind the house. Grand is a one-way street that's only 18 feet wide. And they live across the street from what appears to be a rental with multiple tenants. And he's having issues with vehicles parking across from the apron, and then the tenants are unable to make the turn into their driveway. So I can let, if you're on, Mr. Dreesen, if you want to explain a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, so this is James Dreesen, 5070 County Road K is where I live, right in Oshkosh. And I am the owner of 510 Pleasant Street. And the issues that we are having there is we had a curb and gutter put in on Grand Street, which narrowed up the access to the driveway. So there's a short curb on each side of that, and you got to hit that and cars are always parking in front of that area. So previous to the curb and everything else being in there was no issue because you could come in on an angle. It was just a big parking through the whole area back there. And now since the curb has been put in, it's limited access to that back area for the parking there. And with cars parked across the way right across from the apron, you cannot make the swing. With a really small car you can, but not with a truck or medium-sized car you cannot. It's not so bad going in, but coming out is very difficult for the tenants. And then with the snow and everything issues now going on, they're parking even a little bit further away from the stuff there when there is stuff there. And it's just becoming more and more of an issue over there as far as accessibility and in and out of that driveway.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Dreesen?
Yeah, I tried to show you on the screen here. So the apron that he's talking about is just like, you can't see it here because apparently the Google didn't drive down the street, but just the truck here is in one driveway and then there's an apron just past that. And so the vehicles are parking like right here. I did take a look at it and he's correct. If you had a very small vehicle, you could probably make that turn, but anything with any size that would be very hard to make without going over the curb. And I did want to state too that I did talk to him about talking with those tenants and that live on the building that are causing the parking issue, and he said he's tried a number of times, but he wasn't able to successfully connect with them. He did talk to them a couple times, and they didn't really seem to give him much credence.
Again, anyone with any questions for Mr. Dreesen? Seeing and hearing none, thank you, sir. We will now bring it back to the board for discussion and action. And the first issue on that front is going to be a second from a board member.
Second, Staple.
Anyone with any issues, concerns, pro or con on the issue?
Needs to be corrected.
Is that you, Ross?
No.
Again, I would remind board members that you need to identify yourself either before or after you speak so that the minutes can accurately reflect everyone's comments. My two
Jake
cents.
Krause. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll yield to you here in a second, Jake. But my comments on the issue, It seems to be warranted. The only reservation I have, it may not be the solution in its entirety, Mr. Dreesen, in that you can communicate to your tenants, but unless they actually enforce it as well with their guests, and we get some regular patrol through there, you find that people still park in the short term once the signs go up. But hopefully, shortly thereafter, the message will sink in at that
Okay,
point.
gotcha. And a lot of the people
Vote
that
in
actually,
favor of it.
okay,
This is Jake. I agree with Dan. I think it's a no-brainer. We got to do something there, and I think with the tenants and guests, they're probably not going to listen. So we can maybe ask the police force just to, for the first month or two of it, just try to enforce it. Keep an eye out on it a little closer at that time. But I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment or a concern? Anything you'd like to share?
I feel that it needs to be corrected, and I think self-enforcement and police enforcement will be needed. So I'm for it.
Last, and before I ask for the roll to be called, anyone have the desire to comment on this issue? All right, and would the roll please be called on agenda 2, no parking request on Grand Street?
Christensen,
Aye.
Wanschnitter,
Aye.
Staple,
Aye.
Shazinski, Krause,
Aye.
and Becker.
Aye. Which then brings us to agenda 3, which is removal of parking restriction request. A request to remove parking restrictions on 8th Ave east of North Main Street, the current condition being angle parking both sides from South Main, a distance of 600 feet, 2-hour parking side from South Main Street to 60 feet east between 8 and 6, Monday through Friday, loading zone south side, and from 106 feet east of South Main Street to 181 feet east of South Main Street.
So this
Looking
is
for a second.
Oh, go ahead.
Second, Staple.
All right. So this is a basically that's on Main and 8th where we demoed the buildings on both sides. So it is now just vacant. So when our sign employees were out there doing some work, they just noticed that we have all these, no parking signs up and the angled parking signs, and there is nothing there. So I think we can remove those until something further develops in that area.
Again, seems to be to me anyway, a reasonable request, given that there's nothing there at this point. Obviously, there's going to be the need to revisit it potentially at some point, but for the time being, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do this. Anyone else have any comments they'd like to make on removal of parking in this area? All right, again, seeing none, I will ask that the roll be called on restriction of parking on South Main.
Christensen,
Aye.
Wanschnitter,
Aye.
Staple,
Aye.
Shazinski, Krause,
Aye.
Becker.
Aye. Which then brings us to staff statements. The only item being Jackson Street Safety and Quality of Life Study. Mr. Collins.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on that. This was taken up by a council in December. And if you remember correctly, there were the the three options, just for a brief summary. So you had option A, which was to put up speed boards, leave 4-lane road. Option 2A, which was a full road redesign with speed feedback signs, 1 lane in each direction and 2 left turn lanes. And then there was option 2B, which was a combination hybrid of Plan 1 and 2A, which would have split the improvements at New York. So council did approve Plan 2A, a full road redesign with speed feedback signs between Church and Murdoch. So we're now that we've gotten through the holidays and everything, start of the new year, we are working on procuring the speed feedback signs. Obviously we won't be able to install much until spring. And then we'll be looking to hire a contractor to do the restriping work once we get up to that season. So I'm thinking the speed feedback signs probably will be installed in spring, and then the restriping probably over early summer, depending on the contractor's time frame. And then also that includes installing a crosswalk at Congress Avenue in Jackson and putting the rectangular rapidly flashing beacons there. So that plan is in progress. We're just working on lining up the work for this year.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Collins on that issue?
I do, Bill Christensen. I'm looking at the end of the statement, and it says staff will be putting together a bid for paint removal and striping to be completed next year during the street painting season. Now, the second sheet is dated 2020. The first sheet is dated 2021. I guess what my question is, what's the definition of next year? Is it this coming summer, or is it 2021 or 2022?
Yeah, we put this report together in December, but yeah,
Yeah, that's I figured as much. So, okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yep, no problem.
All right, anyone else? Otherwise, I'm going to ask for future agenda requests.
I have just a couple other updates quick that I didn't have on there that I just thought of. First, we had a change in our police liaison, so Lieutenant Hodder is on the call. There were some promotions and changes and responsibilities at the police department, so I believe he will be joining us more regularly, either him or Captain Kevin Conrad. So once we're out of the virtual world, you get to meet him if you haven't already. Are you on, Mike?
Yeah, I'm here. Kevin Conrad is sitting next to me as well, so we're just watching in.
Okay. So in the future, we'll expect one of them to attend some of these meetings to help answer questions and clarifications. The board, we still have a vacancy, so the mayor is still looking for applications. And then I did want to let you know as well that we've installed rectangular rapidly flashing beacons at the roundabout at Washburn and 9th. And that was a donation from the Winnebago County Aging and Disability Resource Center. So they donated the money for those. And we were able to get those installed in December. We just finished the last crossing earlier, just last week. So that was something they were interested in, and they funded it. So we're happy to report that those have been installed. And then the only other notice is that the city meetings so far, the city manager has announced that those will be virtual through February, and then we will see where we're at, I guess, at that time as we go forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. That brings us then to future agenda requests. Anyone have anything they'd like to see on a future agenda? Say so now.
Ross here. Yeah, I'm just wondering if we can't come up with a timeline for updating the Wisconsin Street roadway between New York and Bent. It's been patching. It's in tough shape.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have to, I know, I don't do that plan, our Public Works does, but I do know it is on, I guess I have to look it up, but I can't remember if it's a 5-year plan or not. I know it is on the radar, and but I don't know off the top of my head.
Can you research that some and come up with some information on it?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's on the city website, but a couple minutes to look it up. But yeah, I can let you know when it's scheduled for.
Yeah, it's in big need. And there's a lot of traffic on Wisconsin, and it's a real dogfight in that area.
Anyone else with future agenda requests? All right, seeing none, I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Staple.
Second,
Second, Krause.
because we're in a virtual setting, we need to do a roll call for adjournment. So I'm going to ask that the roll be called on adjournment.
Christensen,
Aye.
Wanschneider,
All right.
Staple,
Aye.
Chazinski, Krause,
Aye.
Becker.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. We'll see you next month.